In your essay, you cite political polarization as one of the key obstacles to mounting a cohesive social response to the polycrisis. Um, in Joseph Tainer's book, The Collapse of Complex Societies, he underscores that progressive social incoherence is a byproduct of the decline in energy availability. Can political polarization and other degradations in our social fabric perhaps be better understood as a component of energy decline?
Yeah, that's one component, but it's political polarization is a very complex phenomenon, and it's not just a result of declining energy availability. Uh, it's better understood as a decline in um, personal expectations of the majority of the population. If people feel as though their lot in life is diminishing, they get they get pretty critical of the people who are running things.
Mhm.
And there's another uh, feed in to political polarization, which is economic inequality. Take economic inequality and add time, and you get political polarization. Because again, extreme economic inequality makes people frustrated, and they want somebody to blame. Peter Turchin, who's a complexity scientist who's studied this problem very thoroughly over the last 20 years or so, has done so through data, big data. He and his colleagues have gathered uh, statistical data on hundreds of societies over the last several thousand years and looked for patterns in the data. And the biggest pattern that leaps out is that societies tend to, increase in complexity and then decrease in complexity rapidly, which we call collapse, on a regular basis. And it follows very closely the cycle of increasing economic inequality. Now, the thing about civilization, we talked about civilization earlier, where it's due to an energy surplus, a storable energy surplus.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that tends to result in more economic inequality. Now, it doesn't have to. There are strategies that some societies use to at least temporarily, you know, uh, manage or reduce economic inequality, even as surpluses continue to accrue. You know, taxation of wealth, redistribution, uh, government welfare programs, and so on. All of those are strategies that have been used, but they're 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 bucking the tide in a capitalist system with an energy surplus. The tendency will be for economic inequality to increase and increase and increase unless these kinds of strategies are applied ever more vigorously. And of course, the people at the top of the economic pyramid don't like those strategies, taxation and redistribution and so on, because they eat into their, they feel like, well, hey, I'm getting wealthy and I deserve this wealth because I'm smart. Somehow I got to the top of the pyramid and, I deserve to be here. So I don't want any, you know, uh, government leaders telling me that I have to be taxed at a higher rate or something. So the result is conflict among elites, what Turchin calls elite overproduction.
Mhm.
As there's more wealth, more and more people want to get to the top of that economic pyramid, so they're doing whatever is necessary to invest in getting there, whether it's investing in new technology or investing in education. Uh, in the US, the number of people with law degrees, so being a lawyer is a ticket to elite status, right? So the number of people with law degrees has absolutely exploded in the last 50 years. And but once you have lots of people who want that elite status, then there's more and more conflict over a finite supply of elite positions within government, industry, and so on. So the result is more conflict among elites. And that's that again, this feeds into political polarization. It's not something that shows up in the headlines, you know. I mean, who's writing about other than Peter Turchin? Who's writing about the number of law degrees as a cause of our political problems in the U.S.? It's not obvious. You have to study systems in a systemic way in order to uncover these kinds of hidden drivers. But when we look at the U.S. political situation today, which is highly polarized, very dangerous, extremely precarious, it's as big a problem in its own way as any of the other things we've been talking about, because unless we have political solidarity and social solidarity, where we all feel like we're in this together and we're willing to make some sacrifices, mutual sacrifices, in order to get the best possible outcome, unless we have that, then we can't really deal with any of these problems.